We all know that becoming a pilot takes a lot of time, money, and commitment, but how much money does it actually take to acquire a private pilot license? Well, stick around because by the end of this video, I'm going to tell you exactly what you can expect to pay. What's up, guys, and welcome back to the Prop Zone. My name is Scott Schumacher, and in today's video, we are going to be talking about the costs associated with a private pilot license. If you guys are new here, please consider subscribing to the channel and also smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. All right, without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so this is technically video 3 of the How to Become a Pilot series that I'm putting together on the channel. For those of you that want to become a pilot but don't know where to start, please watch this video right here, How to Become a Pilot, Where Do I Start? As soon as you're done with that video, please also watch the second video in this series where I tell you guys how to choose an appropriate flight school, apply for a student pilot certificate, and also how to get your pilot medical. All right, let's go ahead and get down to the brass tacks. And the big question is, how much money do you have to spend to acquire a private pilot license? Well, what we're gonna do is break down the direct related cost to a private pilot license. Since you guys watched the first video in this series, you probably remember that I told you the first thing that you're gonna need to do is sign up for a discovery flight. Because you have little to no experience in an airplane, a discovery flight is gonna help you get acclimated and find out if it's exactly something that you wanna do. On average, a discovery flight is going to run you about $150. So we're going to go ahead and start with that as our first expense. Now, since you guys also watched the second video in this series about how to acquire a pilot medical, I'm going to let you know that a pilot medical is going to run you on average about $150 as well. So that will be number 2 on the list. Okay, the next expense we're going to talk about are the supplies that we're going to need as a student pilot. These supplies could consist of, but are not limited to, a flight bag, a fuel strainer, a manual E6B, a logbook, a sectional plotter, a flashlight with a red light capability for night flights, and your first headset. These are a few of the supplies that you're gonna need during your student pilot training. Now, I'm going to put a cost of about $300 average, and we're excluding from this the cost of the headset because we're gonna talk about that here in a little bit as a different expense. So for everything minus the headset for those supplies, let's go ahead and put about an average of a $300 cost, and that's going to be number 3 on our list. Now, for the biggest expense that you guys are waiting for is the actual cost of the flight training. And it's very difficult for me to give you guys an exact number. So I went ahead and did some research of many different flight schools and many different Part 61, 141 operations and what they're charging for a private pilot license. The way that I look at it is for a private pilot license, you're going to need to acquire about 40 hours of flight time. Now, that's going to include dual time with your instructor, solo time, and dual and solo cross-country time. I'm going to say that it's a safe bet for you to assume about $200 per hour of training. 40 hours of training at $200 per hour is going to put us right at $8,000 for our flight training. And that's going to be number 4 on our list. All right, let's talk really quick about headsets and how much they cost. Whenever you start your pilot training, you don't need the fanciest headset in the world, okay? You can find yourself a nice headset for around $350. It's not gonna be active noise reduction like the nice ones like the Bose A20 or the Lightspeed Zulu or anything like that. But technically, unless you have the money to spend, okay, you don't need it at this point in time. Get yourself a $350 headset, $400 headset, and whenever you get your private pilot license, whenever you get your instrument, your commercial, then go out and treat yourself to a nice helmet. Headset. Not helmet. Headset. This is not going to protect us from anything. This one right here is my Avcom. I've had it on my very first flight. I've had it on my solo, and it got me all the way through my private pilot license. Once I transitioned into my instrument rating and then pursuing my commercial certificate, I went out and got me a nice set of Bose A20s. Since we're keeping budget in mind, let's go ahead and put about $350 average for a headset up on the list. After we have all of our flight training completed, we're now getting ready to take our check ride. The first thing that we're gonna have to do is take what's called the FAA Private Pilot Written Exam. The Private Pilot Written Exam is a 60-question multiple choice test that you must receive a 70% or higher in order to pass. The average cost of this written exam is about $165. So we'll add that to the list. After you pass your test, now we're ready for our check ride. The check ride is gonna consist of two parts. The first part is your oral exam with your DPE or your designated pilot examiner. The second part of the check ride is called the practical exam. The practical exam is where you will actually go up with your DPE, designated pilot examiner, up in the airplane and perform the maneuvers that you've been training for this whole time, showing them that you can perform them correctly. And then if you do everything that you're supposed to do when you get done, you are going to be awarded your private pilot license in the form of a temporary airman certificate. That check ride will be on average about $700, and that will be paid directly to your designated pilot examiner. That does not mean that your check ride will only cost $700. Unfortunately, each DPE can set their own price accordingly. But from my experience, I've always paid anywhere between $600 and $800 for a check ride. So we're gonna split it down the middle and add the check ride on the list at $700. Now, one of the things that I highly recommend that you get, but is not necessary at the beginning of your training, it's more necessary whenever you start your instrument training, but it's a great tool. A lot of pilots use them. We're going more toward technology, so I do recommend at some point in time in your private pilot training, you get yourself an iPad. It's gonna run you on average, you can find a used one probably for around $600 or so. I'm not gonna necessarily add this to the list, but we're gonna say that it's gonna be optional, okay? It's gonna benefit you more in your instrument training because you're gonna be able to have all of your instrument approach plates and everything right in front of you. Another cool part about the iPad is that a lot of the books that we used to have to buy back in the day, like that Pilot's Handbook of Aeronautical Knowledge, the FAR/AIM, Federal Aviation Regulation Airman Information Manual, and any other books that your instructor is gonna want you to have, you can download those for free in a PDF form from the FAA's website. And the cool part about having an iPad and a program like ForeFlight, you can download them directly to ForeFlight and have all of your documents in there, neat and organized and ready to go when you need them. Let's go ahead and add all of this up and get a final number. Drum roll, please. What you can expect to pay for a private pilot license will average about $9,815. Now, this is without the optional iPad. If you have some extra money, if you want to find yourself a used iPad, you can probably find one for about $600. So if you want to go the route and get yourself an iPad and get used to ForeFlight and see what it's all about, go ahead and tack on about an extra $600 to that final price. You're probably thinking to yourself that this is a lot of money, but don't let that discourage you because there's multiple ways out there for you guys to acquire the funds to pay for your private pilot license. For example, if you're active duty military or a veteran, your GI Bill, if you attend a 141 accredited school, will cover your flight fees. If you're not active duty military or a veteran with the GI Bill, then the easiest way to probably go about doing this is to find yourself a 141 school where you can apply for student loans, Pell Grants, scholarships, anything that could help pay for a lot of that cost. Also, consider selling a bunch of the unnecessary things that you have and save up that money that you can use towards your private pilot license. Okay guys, in conclusion, we know that becoming a pilot can be a very expensive and daunting task. Do not let that discourage you because you can and will find a way to make it work if you want it bad enough. Once again guys, thank you so much for watching. If this video has brought you value, please consider smashing that like button for the YouTube algorithm. And if you're new here, also consider subscribing to the channel. I hope you guys have a wonderful day and we'll see you next time on the Prop Zone.